I was organizing Emma's home office while she was supposedly at a tech conference in Seattle. She's always been the messy one in our relationship, papers scattered everywhere, coffee cups on every surface. I'd gotten used to cleaning up after her during our 15 years of marriage. That day, I was picking up her designer bag, a birthday gift I'd given her last year, when several papers spilled out onto the hardwood floor. Among credit card statements and grocery receipts, there it was, a hotel receipt from the Four Seasons Miami dated just 2 days ago. I froze, my hand trembling as I held the piece of paper. Seattle, she'd said. She was supposed to be in Seattle for a week-long conference. I'd even watched her pack winter clothes for the Pacific Northwest weather. The receipt showed a 3-night stay with room service charges for 2 people. Wine, late-night dinners, breakfast in bed. It read like a romantic getaway, not a business trip. My stomach churned as I noticed the room type, ocean view, suite with king bed. I sat down at her desk, my world spinning. Emma, with her flowing auburn hair and those striking green eyes that had made me fall in love with her at first sight, had been lying to me. The woman who'd curl up against me every night, who'd whisper, "I love you," before leaving for work each morning. She was living a double life. My hands moved automatically to her laptop. She'd always been careless with passwords, using our son Tyler's birthday for everything. 7/15/2018. The screen unlocked, revealing her email. The Seattle conference confirmation was right there in her inbox, but so was another email thread, hidden in a folder labeled Project Miami. The emails were between her and someone named David Mitchell. The tone was intimate, familiar. They discussed meeting times, hotel arrangements, and how to keep their special arrangement under wraps. There were phrases like, "Can't wait to hold you again," and "These business trips are our perfect cover." I found myself scrolling through months of correspondence, each message driving another nail into my heart. They had a system. She'd book legitimate business conferences but fly to different cities to meet him. The Seattle conference was real. She just wasn't there. My hands shaking, I pulled out my phone and checked our joint credit card statement. The pattern was clear now, mysterious charges in cities she wasn't supposed to be in, always coinciding with her business trips. Miami, Chicago, New York. How had I been so blind? The worst part. As I dug deeper into her emails, I found mentions of their history together. David wasn't just some random affair. He was her college boyfriend from Boston University. Now, a successful tech entrepreneur. They'd reconnected at a conference 3 years ago, and since then, I stopped reading and looked at the photo of Tyler on her desk. My 7-year-old son, with his mother's green eyes and a smile that could light up any room. A terrible thought began to form in my mind, one that would haunt me for weeks to come. The dates of their reconnection, Tyler's age, those business, trips that started around the time of his conception. I needed a drink, but more than that, I needed answers. And I was going to get them, no matter the cost. That night, after finding the hotel receipt, I couldn't sleep. Emma was still in Seattle, and Tyler was staying at my sister's house for the week. The empty house felt like it was closing in on me. I sat in my home office, surrounded by stacks of printed emails and credit card statements, trying to piece together the extent of my wife's deception. I'm a history professor at Boston University, and if there's one thing I've learned from studying the past, it's that patterns tell stories. So I approached this like one of my research projects. I created a timeline of Emma's business trips over the past 3 years, cross-referencing them with credit card charges and phone records. The pattern was devastating. Every 2 months, like clockwork, she'd have a business trip. While some were legitimate, at least half were covers for meetings with David. I found charges for hotels in cities she wasn't supposed to be in, romantic restaurants far from conference centers, and even jewelry stores, gifts I never saw her wear. Using her laptop's saved passwords, I gained access to her secret email account, emma.mitchell87email.com. Mitchell. She was using his last name. The account was filled with thousands of messages between them, dating back to 2021. They shared photos, planned their meetups, and discussed their future together. My hands trembled as I opened a folder labeled Memories. Inside were hundreds of photos, Emma and David at various hotels, on beach walks, at candlelit dinners. Her smile in these photos was different, freer, more genuine than the one she gave me at home. In one photo, they were kissing on a balcony overlooking Miami Beach, her long auburn hair blowing in the wind, his hands wrapped possessively around her waist, but it was an email from July 2017 that made my blood run cold. David had written, "I can't stop thinking about that weekend in Cape Cod. Everything changed then. Knowing that something so beautiful could come from our love makes all this secrecy worth it." The timing aligned perfectly with Tyler's conception. Found myself looking at photos of my son, or who I thought was my son. His green eyes, so like Emma's, but that slightly olive skin tone that neither Emma nor I had. The shape of his nose, so different from our families. All these little details I'd dismissed over the years suddenly took on new meaning. In their recent emails, they discussed plans for the future. David had accepted a position in his company's Miami office. Emma had been secretly interviewing for tech positions there. They were planning to leave, to take Tyler and start a new life together. The final piece of evidence came from their shared cloud storage. I found a document titled New Life Plans. It detailed everything, when they would tell me how they would handle the divorce, custody arrangements for Tyler. They'd planned it all, down to which school he would attend in Miami. I sat there until dawn, reading and rereading their messages, looking at their photos, trying to understand how the woman I'd loved for 15 years could do this. The Emma I knew, or thought I knew, was kind, honest, devoted to our family. But this Emma, the real Emma, was a stranger to me. As the sun rose over Boston, I made two decisions. First, I would get a DNA test to confirm my suspicions about Tyler. Second, I would let Emma continue thinking her secret was safe. For now, I needed time to gather more evidence and protect myself legally before confronting her. The weight of these discoveries pressed down on me like a physical force. But I knew this was just the beginning. The real storm was yet to come. Over the next few days, I dove deep into Emma and David's past, determined to understand how their college romance had evolved into this devastating betrayal. Through their old emails and social media accounts, I pieced together a story that made me question everything about my marriage. Emma and David had dated for 3 years at Boston University, from 1999 to 2002. Their relationship had been intense, passionate, the kind of college romance everyone expects to end in marriage. But David had received a job offer in California after graduation, and Emma had chosen to stay in Boston for her career. They'd broken up, or so I'd been told. What I discovered was far more complicated. They'd never really let go. Through a hidden Facebook account under the name Emma Mitchell, I found years of sporadic messages between them. Even during our courtship, even after our wedding, there had been occasional check-ins and friendly conversations. But everything changed in 2021 when they met at a tech conference in San Francisco. I found the exact moment their affair reignited. A message from David. "Seeing you today brought everything back. You're even more beautiful than I remembered. Your laugh, the way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're nervous. Nothing's changed, Em. We were meant to be together. Emma's response made me physically ill. I never stopped loving you. David, all these years, every time something good happened, you were the first person I wanted to tell. Michael is a good man, but he's not you. He never could be. Their messages revealed a shared Google Drive folder filled with their old college photos. Emma, younger, but with the same captivating green eyes, wrapped in David's arms at parties on the BU campus, at beach trips to Cape Cod. The same beach where years later they would reconnect during that fateful weekend that likely led to Tyler's conception. I found a letter Emma had written to David but never sent, dated just weeks before our wedding. I'm going through with it because it's the safe choice, the right choice on paper, but my heart will always belong to you, maybe in another life. The more I uncovered, the more I realized our entire marriage had been built on a lie. Emma had settled for me, the stable, reliable professor, while harboring deep feelings for her college sweetheart. When David finally achieved the success he'd been working toward, when he could finally offer her the lifestyle she'd always wanted, she didn't hesitate to rekindle their relationship. Their recent messages discussed their shared regrets about the past. David wrote about how he should have asked her to come to California with him after graduation. Emma lamented choosing stability over passion. They viewed their current affair as destiny finally setting things right. But the most painful discovery was a series of videos they'd taken together during their secret meetings. In one, filmed at their Miami hotel 6 months ago, Emma was glowing, laughing, looking at David with an intensity I'd never seen directed at me. "We're going to make it right this time," she said in the video. "Tyler deserves to know his real father." Those words confirmed my worst fears. They weren't just planning to leave. They were planning to completely rewrite our family's history. In their narrative, I was just a placeholder, a temporary chapter in their epic love story. As I closed my laptop that night, I felt something inside me break. The Emma I'd fallen in love with, the woman I'd built a life with, had never truly existed. She'd been wearing a mask all these years, playing a role while waiting for her real life to begin. The next step was clear. I needed that DNA test. I needed to know the truth about Tyler before I could decide how to proceed. But first, I had to face another day pretending everything was normal, pretending I hadn't just discovered that my entire marriage was a carefully constructed lie. Getting a DNA test without raising suspicion was harder than I'd imagined. Emma had returned from her Seattle trip, acting completely normal, even bringing me a Space Needle souvenir. Every kiss, every casual touch, every "I love you" now felt like a knife twisting in my gut. But I had to maintain the facade while I gathered evidence. I researched private DNA testing facilities and found one in Cambridge that promised complete discretion. The challenge was getting Tyler's DNA without arousing suspicion. I waited until Emma had another late meeting, which I now knew was probably with David, and told Tyler we were going for ice cream. At 7, he didn't question why his dad wanted to swab the inside of his cheek at the doctor's office beforehand. "It's just a quick health check, buddy," I told him, hating myself for the deception. As I watched him happily licking his chocolate cone afterward, his green eyes sparkling. Those eyes I'd always attributed to Emma, I felt physically sick. How could I look at my son, the child I'd raised for 7 years, and suddenly question everything? The lab promised results in 72 hours. Those 3 days were the longest of my life. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I looked at family photos on our walls, I saw signs I'd missed. Tyler's olive complexion, so different from our fair skin, the slight curl in his hair that neither Emma nor I had, his natural athletic ability when both Emma and I were decidedly bookish. I thought, about all the times Emma had commented on how Tyler was such a natural athlete, must be a random genetic gift. She'd known. She'd known all along that those traits came from David. Every comment about Tyler's abilities had been a private joke at my expense. The morning the email arrived with the test results, I locked myself in my campus office. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely click the attachment. The clinical language swam before my eyes until I found the percentage that would change everything. Probability of paternity, 0%. I wasn't Tyler's biological father. The truth I'd suspected, but dreaded to confirm, hit me like a physical blow. I rushed to my private bathroom and threw up, my whole body shaking. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. In just a few weeks, I'd aged years. All those memories flooded back with new meaning. Tyler's birth, his first steps, teaching him to ride a bike, helping him with homework. Every "I love you, Dad," every Father's Day card, every proud moment, all built on a lie. Emma had watched me bond with another man's child, knowing the truth the entire time. What kind of person could do that? How could she look me in the eye every day, knowing she'd not only betrayed our marriage but had deceived me about something so fundamental? And David? He'd known he had a son, but had been content to watch another man raise him, waiting for the right moment to claim his family. The worst part was realizing that every time Emma had encouraged my relationship with Tyler, every time she'd smiled at our father-son moments, she'd been thinking about how temporary it all was. She'd been planning for the day when David would step in and take my place, probably imagining how much better their real family would be. I sat in my office until sunset, the DNA results open on my computer screen, trying to decide what to do next. Tyler was still my son in every way that mattered. I'd raised him, loved him, shaped his character, but legally, biologically, I had no rights. If Emma and David decided to take him away, could I stop them? One thing was certain, I couldn't let them destroy my relationship with Tyler. Whatever happened next, I had to protect him from the fallout of their selfishness. But first, I needed to confront Emma with everything I knew. It was time to end this charade once and for all. I planned the confrontation carefully. After sending Tyler to stay with my sister for the weekend, I waited for Emma to return from her latest meeting. I had arranged all the evidence on our dining room table, the hotel receipts, printed emails, photos, and the DNA test results. The same table where we'd shared family dinners for years, where we'd celebrated Tyler's birthdays, where Emma had sat countless times looking me in the eye while living her lie. She walked in at 7:30 p.m., her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Her auburn hair was perfectly styled, and she was wearing a new dress I'd never seen before. The perfume that drifted into the room wasn't her usual scent, another detail that now made perfect sense. "Michael, why are you sitting in the dark?" She flipped on the lights, then froze when she saw the display on the table. Her green eyes widened, and for a moment I saw genuine fear cross her face before she composed herself. "How was Seattle?" I asked calmly, holding up the Miami hotel receipt. The Four Seasons Ocean View suite must have had quite a view, though I suppose the weather was better than in Seattle. The color drained from her face. "Michael, I can explain." "Explain what, Emma? How you've been sleeping with David Mitchell for 3 years? How you've been planning to leave me and take Tyler to Miami? Or should you explain how you've let me raise another man's child for 7 years while you both laughed behind my back?" She sank into a chair, her carefully maintained facade crumbling. "You weren't supposed to find out this way," she whispered. "No, I was supposed to find out when you and David had everything perfectly arranged, right? When you'd secured your
New job in Miami, enrolled Tyler in his new school, and figured out how to completely erase me from his life. It wasn't like that, she protested, but I could see the truth in her eyes. David and I, we have a history. We never stopped loving
each other. When we reconnected, save it, I cut her off.
I've read all your emails. I know everything. The Cape Cod weekend where Tyler was conceived, the secret meetings, the plans you've made. What I want to know is how you could do this to me. To Tyler? Tears streaked her makeup as she spoke. I
never meant to hurt you. You're a good man, Michael, but David, he's the love of my life. We were meant to be together. Tyler deserves to know his real father. His real father? My voice shook with rage. I'm the one who's raised him. I'm the one who's been there for every nightmare, every scraped knee, every school play. I'm his father in every way that matters. David wants to be part of his life now, she said. He has a right. David has no rights, I interrupted. He gave up any rights when he let another man raise his child for 7 years. And you've lost the right to make these decisions unilaterally. I slid a folder across the table. These are divorce papers. My lawyer drew them up yesterday. I'm filing for joint custody of Tyler. I won't let you take him away from the only home he's ever known. Emma's face hardened. You can't stop us. Biologically, he's David's son. No court will look kindly on a mother who committed paternity fraud, I countered. My lawyer has all the evidence of your affair, the deception, the planned kidnapping of Tyler to Miami. Are you ready for Tyler to learn the truth about his mother in a courtroom? She stared at me, finally realizing the position she was in. The carefully constructed plan she and David had created was crumbling around her. I'll give you one chance, I said. We do this my way, civilized, with Tyler's best interests first. Or we do this the hard way, your choice. The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, a storm was brewing over Boston, matching the tension in our dining room. Everything would change after tonight, but at least now the truth was finally out in the open. 6 months have passed since that night in the dining room. The life I knew is gone, replaced by a new reality I'm still learning to navigate. Emma moved out 2 days after our confrontation, taking only her personal belongings. She didn't fight. Me on the divorce terms or the joint custody arrangement, perhaps the only decent thing she's done in years. The hardest part was telling Tyler. We decided to do it together with a family therapist present. Watching my 7-year-old son try to understand why his mother was leaving, why we wouldn't all live together anymore, broke something inside me that I'm not sure will ever fully heal. We decided not to tell him about David yet. He's too young to handle that truth. The therapist agreed that waiting until he's older would be best. Emma's grand plans for Miami fell apart. When David realized he'd have to face the consequences of his actions, including potential legal ramifications and public exposure, he suddenly became less enthusiastic about their meant-to-be love story. He took the position in Miami, alone. Emma's left with a destroyed marriage, a damaged relationship with her son, and a lover who proved to be a coward when it really mattered. I kept our house in Boston, maintaining stability for Tyler. He stays with me during the week and spends weekends with Emma at her new apartment across town. Every time he leaves for those visits, I feel a knot in my stomach, knowing she's capable of such deep deception, but I'm learning to manage those fears. The university community has been surprisingly supportive. My department head arranged for a semester's sabbatical to help me deal with everything. My students sent cards and emails, and my colleagues have formed an unexpected support system. It turns out I'm not the only one who's walked this path. The DNA test results still sit in my desk drawer, but they mean less to me now than they did before. Tyler is my son, regardless of biology. Every morning when I make his breakfast, every evening when I help with homework, every proud moment at his soccer games, these are the things that make a father. David may have contributed DNA, but he's never earned the right to be called Dad. I've started dating again, cautiously. Sarah, another professor in the English department, has been particularly understanding. She's divorced too, knows the landscape of rebuilding a life. We take things slow, always mindful of Tyler's feelings. She makes me laugh again, something I'd forgotten how to do for a while. The hardest lessons have been about forgiveness, not for Emma or David, but for myself. I've had to forgive myself for not seeing the signs, for being too trusting, for believing in a marriage that was built on lies. The therapist says this is normal, that betrayed spouses often blame themselves. I'm working on it. Tyler is thriving despite everything. His resilience amazes me. He's doing well in school, making friends, and still gives the best hugs in the world. Sometimes I catch him looking at old family photos with a confused expression, and my heart aches. But then he'll look up at me with those green eyes. Yes, they're like Emma's, but they're his own too, and smile, and I know we're going to be okay. Last week he made a Father's Day card in school. Inside he wrote, "You're the best dad ever because you always take care of me no matter what." Those words mean more to me than any DNA test ever could. This isn't the life I planned, but it's the life I have now. Emma's betrayal taught me that sometimes the people we trust the most can hurt us the deepest, but it also showed me that love, real love, like what I feel for Tyler, isn't about biology or obligation. It's about choice. Every day I choose to be Tyler's father, and every day he chooses to be my son. That's a truth that no hotel receipt, no affair, and no DNA test can ever take away.